Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon, and I'm here to welcome you all here to the Tansson Talk Show, where our mission here is to help bring people together. I'm so excited to bring you all today's episode, but without further ado, please allow for me to introduce my guest here today, Oakley Weddle. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm incredibly excited to be here. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. And so, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really great. I'm recovering from what we'll probably talk about in a minute, PRSSA ICON. My chapter was the host and I was the conference coordinator. So I believe yesterday I slept for about 30 hours, which is not something I normally do. But in total, every night at the conference, I was sleeping like 4 hours. So definitely recovering now, but doing extremely well and excited for what's next.
Well, I'm excited for you. And before we go ahead and dive right into it, because I definitely want to know all there is to know about PRSSA Icon 2023, I did want to allow for you to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching and listening audience here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Oakley Weddle. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you, Brandon, for having me on. I'm just so appreciative. I love this kind of stuff. Love having a organic conversation about PR and life in general, and just really excited. I'm a graduate student at the University of Memphis and a graduate assistant. You probably see my two dogs in the background here. The lighter one is Wrigley, and the darker one is Zeke. So you probably will. They'll be our special guest today. Uh, yeah, I'm a graduate assistant at the University of Memphis. I got my undergrad at the University of Memphis, my bachelor's in public relations, and now I'm getting my master's in journalism and strategic media, with an emphasis in integrated strategic media. Like I said, I work part-time as a graduate assistant. I teach a course, graphics for strategic media. I have about 20 students. I taught it last semester, and I'm teaching it this semester. And I graduate in December. Woo! Very excited. But I think I'm a glutton for punishment because I'm considering going back to school in the spring. So, considering all my options and seeing what's next. But I also work part time at ProTech Services Group, a local technology company. I've worked there for almost 5 years. I started there my senior year of high school as an intern and worked my way up to marketing manager. So I love that job. It's allowed me to view the corporate world and be in that and learn so much from business and marketing while I'm learning PR and doing other stuff. I serve on the Public Relations Student Society of America National Committee. I'm the VP of Chapter Development. In that role, I work with chapters from all over the United States and internationally. We have chapters in Puerto Rico, Argentina, Peru, and just I work with them about how their chapter's doing, making sure that they are supported by National. I provide resources to them, and I also run the Community Service Initiative. That's what we're going to be launching in the spring. So the CSI, Community Service Initiative, is an initiative by the national organization that is a community outreach project with the organization to help chapters grow and also engage in philanthropy and corporate social responsibility. So I'm going to be doing that in the spring, along with our Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. Very excited about that. And then who knows what's next for me. But otherwise, I also started a foundation for my late brother. My brother passed in 2016, and my family and I started a foundation called the PEYitforward Foundation. It's essentially an organization that promotes random acts of kindness and also supports higher education through scholarships at the University of Memphis. Fogelman College of Business and Economics, that's where my brother went. So we support a scholarship there. We raise money through a golf tournament. We do outreach projects in the homeless and unhoused community here in Memphis. And like I said, we promote initiatives that encourage random acts of kindness. What else for me? I guess some other things. In this past January, I was named Memphis 20 Under 30. This is an honor by the thank you. This is an honor from the Memphis Flyer, a magazine here in Memphis. They honor 20 people who are under the age of 30 who they predict who are the next leaders of Memphis. And I don't know about all that, but it was an honor. And then this past April, I was awarded the Outstanding Research Award on the graduate level. Thank you. At the Presidential Awards at my school, I did my research paper in school about Free Purpose Pain, a anti-capital punishment social media campaign through the Innocence Project. And I did my paper about that. And I think that's all. Oh, and I teach theater. I teach theater to about 70 kids every week. My mom has this cottage tutorial within her house. She's a teacher, and so she has 70 kids. Yes, there's 70 kids that come to my house every week. That really sounds bizarre, but they come and they get tutored, and I teach them theater and speech and leadership, and it's really, really cool to work with kids in the community and see the next generation of leaders. So yes, that's me. That's my wrap up.
Oh, good, but that is really cool that you like have so much stuff that you're doing. And I guess the first question, first and foremost, would be, how do you have time?
That's a good question. Time is my biggest struggle, but somehow it all works out. So I guess the answer is I don't know. It fluctuates. Every week is different. I, of course, always have class and I always have school and I'm always working on PRSSA, but I'm not always teaching theater. I'm not always doing the foundation. And I guess I'm not always doing it alone. I have really, really good teams. I lead a lot of the teams. I'm on a lot of the teams. And so, I only get through life through collaboration, truly, because I couldn't do any of that alone. And I just appreciate all the people in my life that help me and are passionate as me. And yeah, so I don't do it alone.
Well, I'm glad at least that, that you have great teams, that you're able to, do this amazing work that you're doing. And I guess to start off at the beginning, or actually, what would you say would be the beginning for you?
The beginning of what? Sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah. But I guess, for you going to where you are now, I guess I'll start off with, high school. So like during your high school time, were you as active as you are now with everything that you're doing?
Gotcha. So like the beginning of the journey. I understand. So it's a weird journey. So I started in middle school doing theater, and that's kind of how I found all this. And it's bizarre, but there's a through line that I'll get to eventually. So I started doing theater, got very interested in it, got bit by the theater bug, as we like to say, and just absolutely fell in love with being on stage, being behind the curtain. And then in high school, I also was really into doing like administrative stuff for my theater company that I was working for. And I also started stage managing and then directing and choreographing and music directing and got super into that. And I was homeschooled, so I had so much time to dedicate to theater. I was homeschooled my whole life, and that provided me an opportunity to not only be in theater, but also, since I wasn't around a bunch of people my age, I got very comfortable with people older than me, and I got very comfortable talking to adults. So people always said I was mature at a young age. And so I did theater in high school, and that led me to start doing graphic design. The theater company that I was looking for a graphic designer, and I started playing around in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe InDesign and Illustrator at the time. And they started teaching me a little bit more, started watching YouTube videos, and they needed someone to do their posters and programs. And so I started doing that. It was very successful, moved on to doing social media graphics for them, moved on to running their social media along with the executive director, and just kind of shadowed her and all her work. And at one point I thought I was going to start my own theater company. But then when I left that theater company, and after having all the opportunities of doing PR with them and doing like community service outreach projects, they said to me, well, now that you're entering college, I really think that you should pursue doing public relations. And that was not something that I ever thought about doing. I thought, maybe I'll major in theater, but I knew I didn't really want to be an actor. I thought maybe I would want to run my own theater company. But they were like, if you do PR, you could still do a theater company, but you still have like a backbone. So if the theater company thing doesn't work out, I don't love fallbacks, but I mean, that's essentially kind of what we were talking about, like just a nice foundation. So if that didn't work out. So then I got into college in August 2020. I came in with lots of dual enrollment credits because I was homeschooled. I was able to take dual enrollment classes. And so when I came in August 2020, of course, we were in the throes of COVID. Everything was virtual. And I live in Memphis, and I moved away about an hour and a half to Jackson, Tennessee, just because I wanted to get out of the city and kind of needed a respite. And it wasn't too far from home because I still had my parents and my grandmother, who I was taking care of was a primary caretaker. So I wanted to be close. And so I moved to Jackson and was there for like a year and just absolutely fell in love with PR and marketing. I majored in PR, minored in marketing. And when I met with my advisor, Tori Cliff, and she said to me, are you interested in writing? Are you interested in storytelling? Are you interested in talking to people and working with all types of stakeholders? And I was just like, all of the above. I just absolutely love that. Like my mom used to say I wouldn't shut up. So I absolutely love talking. I mean, evident to why I'm on this podcast today. I love talking to people. And I will not shut up. So I got into college, absolutely fell in love with it. And then I moved back home to Memphis because my grandmother got sick and I wanted to be closer to her and spend the time that I had with her. Luckily, she's still here with us. She recovered completely. It was like an absolute Christmas miracle. But I did move back from Jackson, which was the best decision I ever made. I don't ever regret going there. I had an amazing time. It was very healing during a time of COVID where I wasn't around a lot of people. I was isolated, but still like really was focused on myself. So when then I came back, I was able to take care of other people. And then I just got super involved with Public Relations Student Society of America, PRSSA. It's kind of bizarre that I'm where I am now because I think back to when I filled out like an interest form outside like a cupcake shop in Memphis. It was like so random. I was like, I keep hearing about this PRSSA thing. Everyone's talking about it. So I like submitted an interest form. And then the advisor got back to me within a week and she was like, do you want to be on the executive board? I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't even know y'all, but yes, because I like to say yes to every opportunity. And so I got on the executive board, was the director of communications, and then I moved up to the VP after a year. And then after that year, I was the president. And then I spent a whole term as president. Absolutely just tried to revitalize the chapter because when I was VP, we were still in COVID, obviously, and we had like 5 to 10 members. We were barely like established. We were barely accredited per PRSSA guidelines, and so we went from barely under 10 members to 55 members in a semester, and that was due to my advisor and I just sitting down and going, we want to leave a legacy. We want to leave a better PRSSA than when we found it because she was now the new faculty advisor. And we just really set forth on a path of growth. So then I graduated undergrad. I got accepted into grad school, became a graduate assistant, finished my term as president. And then I ran for national committee for PRSSA. Crazy story. So you have to run in person in Scottsdale, and I was not able to make it to Scottsdale like the day of running because my flight was delayed. Me and American are like this. American Airlines and I, not pals. They do not like me going to school functions. But so I was late going to Scottsdale. But nobody ran for that position by God's grace. And so after Leadership Assembly, they hosted like virtual running for office for that role particularly. So I ran. I was voted in. and was so blessed to start my term on June 1st, and I'm just having an absolute blast. But I guess going back just a little bit, this last January, my faculty and advisor and I really had a goal of hosting ICON. And we wanted to build the chapter up and create an infrastructure to be able to host ICON. So that's why we grew the chapter so much. So then we submitted the host a bid. It's a rigorous process. Had to go through many Zoom meetings, defend our work, and then we got accepted, and we started working on ICON from there. So I guess that's it. That brings me to now. Who knows what will come next?
That is so cool. And I guess there's a few things like I definitely want to, to think about and point out. But first of all, that's really, cool that you were able to, of course, start off, your college journey, of course, in August of 2020, but then also graduate within 2 years.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. In hindsight, I don't recommend it because it was so unbelievably fast. And I've done a lot of reflecting on myself and why I felt the need to do that. I mean, of course, I came in with credits, but I still expedited the process a lot. And I think at the time I was stuck in this mentality of gotta be the best, gotta be the fastest, gotta be gotta be the top. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, why did I have to do that? Why did I feel like I had to rush through undergrad? Because now I keep delaying graduating grad school, because really and truly there are so many opportunities that you get as a student that you do not get when you are an early career professional. And so rushing through undergrad really made me delay my grad school and stretch it out as much as possible. So I don't know. Yeah, in hindsight, I think that mindset that I was in of trying to be the best, trying to be the most achieved, was rather toxic. And I've done a lot of self-reflection on that.
Yeah, and I will say, for some of that, I do relate as someone that, graduated undergrad in December 2022. It's oh wow, it's there's so many, I guess, opportunities available and all this and that, but of course everything is made for undergrads. It's oh darn, well, it's I mean, some of the stuff you can still participate in some capacity or another, but it's one of those things where it's just oh, I'm not at that place anymore. I mean, my peers are there, everyone that's my age is there, but it's but I'm already past that.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many opportunities that you get in undergrad, and in grad school, I've really stretched the capabilities of what a grad student can do, that a lot of grad students don't do, just because they usually come back to school after a while. They go and work, and then they come back. But I went straight into it, so basically, I'm it's undergrad plus.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. I think this is probably one of the only few times I've met someone that can actually relate to that, because I mean, it's one of those things that's well, if we're already here, we're already used to the resources, we might as well continue with it tenfold without burning ourselves out.
Yeah, definitely. And no fault to my department at all. I'm glad they have these programs, but if there was an accelerated program, people told me about it because they knew I was going to do it. If there was an accelerated program, I knew I was going to do it. So, I mean, I was just I was just so fast. And I know I learned a lot, but then at the end of it, I was did I learn anything at all? And that's not to knock to my department. It's a knock to me. It's take your time, absorb the information, go to the classes, do the things, have the discussions. Because in grad school, I've had to do a lot of retroactively learning, because I just did everything to get by. And I mean, I was a good student, but I did everything just to get the class done, do it well, move on, that kind of thing, and was not truly reflecting on the journey whatsoever. So if anyone's listening out here and considering going through undergrad fast, be cautious, because you never know. I mean, there's no rush. Why would you rush to leave college and enter a workforce that's crazy right now? Take the opportunities you have in college if you can, and get involved with student organizations, because that's truly where I struggled with accelerating so far because I have been able to get so many opportunities that at a point now I'm like, man, I wish I had some more school left because I could take advantage of this more.
Yeah, and and even like I think about for myself as someone that, as I say, accidentally, like did all of this so fast, is that like to speak about what you're saying too, is because you've just done so much, whether with like with academics and personal life or whatever, in such a short time. It Yeah, it's almost bizarre. Like when thinking back, it's just like, when exactly did I do this? Did I do this? Just because
Yeah.
it feels a little surreal, and it doesn't help that it came right at I guess our college journeys began right at the COVID-19 pandemic.
Definitely, yeah. And I felt like the pandemic played a lot into it because it was like all I had to do. It was like I literally like was doing school and listening to folklore and that's it. Like there was nothing else I was doing. So I was like, well, I might as well just take 22 credits if they allow me to do it because I mean, what else am I doing? Like walking my dog and doing class. And so I think if COVID had not happened, perhaps I wouldn't have like rushed through. But even when like things let up, I was still taking like lots of classes because I had gotten into that like mode. But yeah, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but like I was walking around, like especially when I was graduating, which was only like a year and a half ago, but I was like walking around going like, did it in 2 years, look at me. But now I'm like, that is so not a flex. Like that is not impressive. I mean, like it's impressive, but it's not like a good decision. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those things where it's just like, it's not as glamorous as everyone like makes it out to be, but in the same regard too. I mean, it is a good accomplishment, but at the same time, it's like, just like anything, I think it has its pros and its cons, and some are higher than others.
Definitely. Absolutely.
But yeah, and then I mean, even hearing about what you're saying though, even your progression with PRSSA, going from just just signing up one day to going from executive board member, director, vice president, chapter president, and now a national vice president. I mean, that's a quite a bit of a progression.
Yeah, and it was kind of like you were saying with school, like completely accidental. Well, I don't know if my faculty advisor would say that. She like definitely encouraged me and coached me into a lot of the roles. I knew I wanted to take on president because I had a lot of good ideas and a vision. But as far as running on national committee, I never believed I could do that. But I was at ICON last year, sitting in the audience watching the national committee, and my faculty advisor, my wonderful faculty advisor, Kim Marks Malone, she texted me and was like, you should run for national. And I was like, me? Seriously? Like, no way. And she was like, yes, you would be amazing. And so she like convinced me over the next couple of months. And then I ran for office. So yeah, definitely accidental in my eyes and my perspective, but maybe not for her because I feel like she had some sort of plan.
Well, yeah, I always feel like it's great whenever you have someone, especially like a faculty advisor, that sort of has a plan for you, and it's just like, it's like, you may not want this right now, but I think this is something that you need to do.
Yeah, she's always been such a champion for me, and I've just been so supported by her. I mean, we were kind of joking about it last week because we were talking like, when did we first meet? And I called her about like a program that the department has for like APR, like accreditation of public relations, and I still haven't gotten it yet. But like because of that phone conversation that I had with her, this has like been a stepping stone to something else, which I feel like is something that I've been reflecting a lot on recently. Is it kind of now being on the tail end of school, I've realized that I can trace back very small actions to now big things, big achievements. I can go, that one phone call led me to this moment, or this one person who worked with me for like 2 weeks now has connected me with our keynote speaker, and now I have this keynote speaker, and who knows what the next step will be with her. Like, it's just kind of crazy the way our industry works, and just, I guess, life in general. Like, I feel like a lot of students don't understand that when you say yes to a small opportunity, you're saying yes to eventually a huge opportunity that you would never imagine being possible. And everything's just like a stepping stone to something else. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not wise enough to conceptualize that feeling, but it's definitely something I've been thinking about, kind of about to graduate and reflecting on my undergrad and graduate journey. I can trace back a lot of the big achievements to smaller actions and smaller interactions with people.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely want to, as I said, touch on that a bit, more too. But I think that's so true. And even thinking about, myself, like how many opportunities have come from just singular experiences, and sometimes they have no relation to what you're doing now. It's just like, oh, well, I went to this thing, I met this person, I had a conversation with this person, they had me do this and then this, and and so having that progression, it's just like, wow, to think I just took the time to do that one thing, and like, where would I be if I hadn't done that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of students get tripped up by that because we are constantly saying like student organizations like PRSSA are investments in yourself, and like investments don't you have to follow up with investments. You have to nurture and foster investments, just like in the stock exchange. Like you can't just drop some money in and be like, okay, cool, waiting for the ROI. And maybe you can, but I don't know stocks. I'm in PR. So in life though, I feel like you have to, like, when you make investments in people and you make investments in like yourself, I feel like you have to keep nurturing it and fostering it, because if you want to see that stepping stone get to a bigger achievement, you have to follow up.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And yeah, but something I do definitely want to hear to take a sidestep is how was it hosting Icon? 2023. We're very fresh off of it, so how was it?
I mean, Brandon, it was like euphoric. It was incredible. Like, it was the best opportunity that, like, I'm worried right now that I peaked because it was such an amazing opportunity that, like, and it's also so rare. Like, a school gets it once a year. You have 4 people on the committee. So, like, us 4, we were just so honored and privileged to be able to do it. Um, I mean, like I said, like the bidding process was pretty rigorous, but it was fun, and it was fun coming up with the theme, and seeing how it morphed. Like the way that we had our original document, it was not how the conference ended up in the best way. Like it just took on a life of its own. It came to this own thing, and I don't know. There was kind of a switch of like after we visited the Gaylord back in April. I think all of us were like, I think we're gonna make this the best icon ever. Like, and we all had agreed to like put 100% into it, and we all put 1,000% into it. Whether it was through social media content that we made, that we just had an absolute blast with. We really leaned into the like Gen Z things that were going on this year, like cultural stuff, and it really helped bring like the excitement to the conference, and really kind of created like some parasocial relationships with the committee, because like when we got to Icon, a lot of people came up to us and were like, oh, I know you from social media, and I like feel like I really know you. Like, I know your personality, I know who you are. I'm so glad to finally meet you in person. So that was like really good, because when people came to the conference, they already felt welcomed and they felt like they already knew us and knew our faces. So that was really cool. So like whether it was creating social media content or working with speakers, I primarily did that. I just had an absolute blast finding speakers through LinkedIn and through connections, and working with them, getting on Zoom meetings and talking about what they wanted to talk about, working out logistics, and then just hosting them once they got there. Working with sponsors, finding items for our conference bags that we gave out. That was really fun. We are in Tennessee, and in Tennessee, moon pies are really big. They're like basically this like marshmallow, chocolate, or like banana or strawberry like pastries or like cookies. They're like really popular here. They originated here, and so we were able to put those in the conference bag. Those were donated, and like some really cool Tennessee things. We had a Tennessee magazine from the state parks. So we found stuff for conference bags, and then just working out general logistics about, where all the programming was going to be in which room. And then, of course, promoting the conference and recruiting, like reaching out on an individual basis, LinkedIn messaging, helping people find rooms, helping people find funding, and then on our own end, helping our students be able to come. We were able to bring 23 University of Memphis students, which has never happened before. So we were absolutely thrilled to bring that many students to conference and be able to do that because of hosting and the proximity with Nashville and Memphis. So I mean, it was a team effort. I thank my team, Taylor, Angel, Rowe, and our faculty advisor, Kim. They just were an absolute pleasure to work with. They're wonderful human beings. They deserve the world. And this opportunity is just, we're sad that it's over because we just had such an amazing time. But yeah, I mean, our conference theme was what's next. And I think that came very organically, and maybe subconsciously too, which I could talk about why I kind of made the theme that way. But it was perfect for the student of today because not a knock on any other PRSSA program at all, but we wanted to make the conference very relevant for students. Coming out of COVID, juniors and seniors who mostly attend the conference, what are they thinking about? And they're thinking about what's next. How do you bridge the gap between campus and your career? And navigating change and being resilient, that was a really big thing. And we also wanted to really do stuff with networking and like really bring students together. And I think we did that through just the vibe and before we even got to the conference, the vibe when we got to the conference, and then also just like social events that we did that encouraged networking. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I'm a little jumbled because I'm still reflecting on the experience. Someone was trying to ask me about it, and I was like, it's like one of those things where you were running on like 4 hours of sleep, but you never felt more alive. But also at the same time, you were not able to retain anything because you were just working so hard. So now I'm like, I'm going to have to do some like journaling of like every day now that it's still like kind of fresh on my mind to like help get those memories back out, because it was just like one thing to the next, one thing to the next, one thing to the next, meet the next person, meet the next person. Like I was so honored to meet all the people, and I really truly remember many of our interactions. But as far as like just remembering the conference overall and specific moments, it's still kind of hard, even though like it's like literally 4 days ago. But yeah.
I mean, I could just imagine. I mean, I remember, yeah, it's just a regular attendee at ICON last year, and being like, wow, it's like we did all of this in such short time. But for you as someone who had like a very active part in planning it, not just as a part of the host committee, but also as a part of the national committee, and to do all that, I mean, I can't even imagine like how much like, it must have been to really put it all together, but see it come to fruition, but then be just done.
Yeah, it was truly beautiful because like the first programming that we had was a chat between Tracy Odie Blunt and Ray Day. Tracy worked in the NFL, and she like did a lot of different pivots in her life, and her whole like topic was like an introduction to the theme of the conference, what's next. And we had worked with Tracy for quite a while. Like we started initiating conversations in like June, talked in July, talked some more in August or August and September. And so like the first programming that I saw from idea to complete fruition was just like, this is kind of crazy. Like I had planned events at my chapter before, but usually they're kind of like one-off. Like we maybe have like 4 weeks lead time. If that's pretty generous too. Like sometimes it's like 3 or 2 weeks we plan things. So like to have a conference that you're planning for 9 months, and a lot of times you hadn't talked about something since like January, but it's still like happening in October. It's kind of just insane to see all the hard work that you've done over the last however many days just play out. And in a lot of ways, it was like so well organized that we were able to just enjoy it. And then there were some times when we were running around and doing things. But yeah, it was really cool to see the ideas come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so glad that, that they were. And, Yeah, but something that stood out to me too is that when you were mentioning that, the sort of parasocial relationships that that some people may have had like coming into it because they've seen you all promoting Icon, and I will have to say full credit to you all. You all have probably made some of the best advertising campaign for Icon yet, which made me like all the more sad that I wasn't able to to go, because I mean watching it, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is like the event of the year, because like you all are just doing such a great job. And even going into this, having seen a majority of the the advertisements, especially on Instagram, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like this event sounds so cool, and like you all just made it out so fun.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of our goal when we started. It was like, this is a professional conference, but work can be fun. Like, we wanted it to be fun. Like, I mean, for those of you who don't know, but like all of our content, like we like try to bring in like stuff from Barbie, and we had a lot of Taylor Swift content. But we also just like did some general fun things, and we wanted to reflect what the conference was going to be like. It was going to be fun. It's an extravaganza. It's a premier event, and one of the best compliments I got was that like the content matched what we actually did at the conference, because like the worst thing could have been like people have been so excited about the conference because of the content that we did, and then people get to the conference and been like, this is not at all what we were expecting, or like you had hyped this up way too much. But really and truly, so many people I heard were like, the follow through on this and like the excitement, and like I think it exceeded a lot of people's expectations, and for especially for people who had never been to Icon before. But for in a lot of ways, I felt like we got back to like pre-COVID excitement and energy. Like last year, like the energy was great, but it was still like people were a little hesitant. Like people were coming out of COVID, were not as networking as much, so there was still a vibe in the air. But this year, like that was completely like eradicated. There was so much networking, so much connection, so much just genuine, authentic connections and talking to people, that I just was really honored to be able to host this year and be able to, use those fun moments like Barbie and the Eras Tour. And of course, we had a session about that. And yeah, so it was just, I mean, it was just wonderful. That's, I mean, honestly, all I can say about it.
I'm just so glad to hear it. When I said, like I said before, you all just did such a great job, like with promoting it, and just putting all the information out there. And so I'm just so glad to hear that it went well. And I guess before sidestepping to a different question, I did want to to ask you, what would you say was the best part of Icon that you all were able to pull off?
Ooh, that's hard. Honestly, I'm gonna have to say like all of our breakout sessions. On Saturday, we have these breakout sessions that are like an hour, and you can choose to go to any session. Basically, there's four in each set, and there's three sets. So from like 2 to 3, there's 4 sets. 3 to 4, there's 4 sets, and there's a bunch of different rooms that you can go to. And I feel like that's a big feat, because you have to come up with like really enticing titles and descriptions and speakers so that all the rooms seem equal. And that's a hard thing to accomplish, especially when you're doing it over a long period of time of planning. So like we had like our first session completely confirmed in like April, but we had our last session fully confirmed like 4 weeks before the conference. Like, so like a long period of like, what is this going to look like? You can't see the big picture. You just have to be like trusting that it's all going to come together, and that students are going to like every session. And I really think the theme of what's next and like going into different industries helped with that, because the way that I wanted to approach it and how my team wanted to approach it is how we approach our chapter. Every month we do a different theme based on a PR industry. And so we wanted to do that for the breakout sessions. We wanted students to be able to go to different sessions based on whatever industry they're interested in. So we had a session on social media. We had a session on crisis communications. We had a session on the healthcare industry, sports, music, and government. And we had a session on like Gen Z and influencers. And we wanted to make sure that we covered a lot of our bases so that students all students were interested in coming, but also when they came, they were learning something that would eventually take them to what's next. And so I think that's definitely a huge feat that we were able to pull off. But as far as just like my own personal favorite moment, I would probably have to say Saturday morning we had our keynote session, Amanda Brooks from ESPN, and she was just absolutely so inspiring and worked so well within the theme of what's next. But also we had our like national committee introduction, and that was like just a full circle moment for me personally, and something I'm just very proud of. But then also there we do this really cool thing to end that like session in the morning called chapter roll call, and essentially chapters stand up and they do little cheers or like songs that they come up with, and it's very creative, and it's really cool to just see our whole society like stand up per chapter and be like just excited to be an icon and just absolutely exuberant to be a part of PRSSA. And it was just really cool to see, especially from like the head table looking at it, because everyone was just so creative. I just absolutely adored it. And Brandon, we missed you, by the way. We missed you a lot. So yeah, that was my favorite moments.
Well, I'm glad to hear I was missed, but I mean, but that sounds so cool that you all were able to do that. And out of curiosity, how many chapters like did you all have in total, if you happen to know that?
I'm not sure as far as how many chapters were represented. Quite a few. Like a lot. I believe we're nearing 600 registrants. I don't believe that the numbers have officially come in. But I know that before we started the conference, we were at like 550, including advisors. So I know there was several walk-ups and day registrations. So I'm hoping that we're near that 600 number. But we really didn't think we were going to get to 500. I mean, we kind of did. We're very ambitious people. And so we were like, we're getting to 500. It'll be the last thing I do. But yeah, it was an ambitious goal of getting to 500, because last year wasn't like that, and just because of COVID and like just trying to figure it all out for students. And so yeah, we had said we're going to get to 500, and we did, and I believe we'll get to 600. So that's like a huge feat for us.
Well, I'm so glad that you all were able to do that, and I know you were speaking about full circle, seeing the the progression of it. And I think me on the podcaster side, like I feel like I've heard like full circle about you all's planning from starting off, the year for a conversation released in April, having Taylor Ann Carpenter on, who was speaking about the beginning stages of you all planning out to Icon. And so now to hear you speaking about how it ended out just feels like so fulfilling from that front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and because, like I said, it was extremely organic, because I had gone through a thing over the summer where I was like, it was like an epiphany. I realized I didn't want to do something, and I kind of pivoted, but I still didn't and still don't really know what I want to do with my life. And so when planning programming over the summer, we started to kind of see a theme that like I said, maybe was subconscious of what's next. And so like back in April, we kind of had like a couple of sessions. We knew we wanted to do the different industry thing. We knew we wanted to be able to have students, try different things when they were at the conference. But yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's really cool to think back like where we were in April and where we are today, having finished the conference, because it, like I said, it just took a life of its own, and we're just honored and proud.
I'm so glad to hear it. And and taking a different step though, I know that you mentioned during your introduction that, of course, a major part of what you do personally is to work to help spread kindness. And so I did want to know, how did that start off for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll just start in 2016. My brother passed in a fatal car wreck, unfortunately, a single car wreck. And he was a incredible human, because he was like one of those people that would like go up to people and talk to them. And he was like, he never met a stranger. He would give the shirt off his back to somebody. And after he passed, we had a lot of reflecting about like, how can we honor him and how can we keep him alive through his legacy? And we formed a foundation from there that was going to help students at the University of Memphis and also like do initiatives to spread kindness. It kind of tapered off around 2018, 2019. And in 2020, when I was old enough to really have processed his passing, because I was 14 when he passed, and it was really hard for me to understand and like really like go through all the stages of grief at that time when I was still in middle school and then had to go through high school and figure out college. So when it was 2020, my senior year of college, I still really started like reflecting on that journey. And I realized that to be able to channel that energy into something else, I really needed to like start the foundation back up and really focus on the kindness aspect. And unfortunately and fortunately, I started up in January 2020, kind of like how you said you started really consistently doing this podcast. And March 2020 happened, and we all know what happened, and all the plans that we had in place were not able to happen. But I found a space on social media where we built our following and were able to spread kindness. And through these social media posts and through spotlighting good news during that time, we were posting like every day, and it was like a huge thing. And then when we came out of COVID, we started doing community service projects. And I started this campaign called the Seed Campaign, and essentially they were these little envelopes with $1 bills in it, and we left it around random places, and we left it like on a gas station, pump, or left it in a restaurant, or in the bathrooms, or like just in random places. And essentially it asked, what can you do with $1? What seed can you plant for people? How can you spread kindness in your community? And we were encouraging people to do it wherever, to whomever, whenever. And that was kind of like our whole seed campaign. It was incredibly successful. It garnered a lot of community attention. And that was a huge thing because it was around election season in 2020 into 2021. And I think that it really helped here in Memphis, like just spread kindness and positivity. But we're doing this thing now called oh my goodness, it just left my brain. But essentially, it's called Life's Too Short. And that like kind of our whole mantra of this new campaign. It's like these stress balls, and it has our logo on it. And we're kind of doing it a similar way, leaving it in random places with like a little business card that explains it. And essentially it's saying like, don't stress, life's too short, pass this on. So if you find the stress ball, the idea is for you to get the message, retain the message, maybe hopefully follow us on social media, or look at our website, understand the mission, and then pass it on to somebody else that you might know, or leave it in another random place. So like that's kind of our whole thing. And then of course, like I said, we do the scholarship, and my brother was a big golf player. So we do a tournament every year. It's a huge tournament. We have about 36 teams, lots of sponsors, and tons of volunteers. And we do this golf tournament to raise funds for the scholarship and also just for general operations for the foundation. But yeah, I mean, just kindness. It's a huge thing for me, and a huge thing that was for my brother. So in that way, it keeps him alive and also just helps me emulate him. And just, I think it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing to spread kindness and positivity and be authentic. I mean, you don't want to force it, but also like encouraging those random acts of kindness, like just opening the door for someone, or, you know, talking to someone on an elevator, wishing them a good day, or paying for someone behind you in Starbucks or something like that. Just those small things that you might not think mean anything, but I mean, the devil's in the details, right? We all appreciate small things, and it makes our day.
Well, first and foremost, I did want to say that my thoughts and prayers are always with you and your family, you know.
Thank you.
And I'm just so glad, though, that you all were able to, to one, put together the foundation, but also, like, put it together in a way that could help spread kindness and, positivity, especially, like you said, like now, like during a time that I think really needs a little kindness.
Yeah, definitely.
And what would would you say that this has definitely impacted, your personal journey as well and what you aspire to do?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like I said, I come out of a little bit of a dark period, like at the end of high school, because I realized I had never processed my brother's passing, and because honestly, I was just like shell shocked, and being 14, like you really just cannot process anything at the level of maturity that you're at, like something that large. I mean, true tragedy, and honestly, I felt like at the time I needed to be there and be strong for my family, who was at that point where they were like just absolutely broken, and I was broken too, but in a way that I felt like I had to put myself together really fast to be able to be there for them. And so when I later on processed his passing and his death, and I'd come out of that dark period going, okay, what's next? I mean, I think I've always kind of going back to Icon, like lived with the phrase "what's next," and realized that it's always forward motion. It's always something new. It's always doing something next. Not staying stagnant. I hate staying stagnant. Like I don't ever want to like coast. So I'm always asking myself, what's next? And after that, when I asked that question, it was, well, honor him and do things that keep him alive and keep this process going, because I'm never fully going to process the grief. I'm never fully going to understand everything about my grief, but also at the end of the day, like I know PR, I know how to run events and stuff, but the only thing I really truly know is because I've lived with it so long, and it's been with me for as long as I honestly can remember. Because before Peyton's death, it's like, well, what was before that? I mean, like I remember memories and stuff, but like it was just like it's kind of post. But yeah, it's really helped me on my journey. It's helped me be more empathetic. It's helped me tell stories better. It's helped me um, process things and understand people, which I feel like in our business, we're in the relationship business. And to be able to understand people at a more emotional and personal level is really what helps.
Well, like I said, I'm glad that at least now that you've begun processing the grief and going through it, that at least you're able to understand yourself a little bit more, like in the process as well, and understanding that what it is that you want to do as well. And I hope that you're able to continue figuring out like your own personal journey of what's next for you. Yeah, especially now that you're going to graduate just in a couple months.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's a big old question right now in my head of what's next? What do I do next? Because over the summer, I well, fast forward just a little bit back. I had decided that I wanted to do a PhD. I decided, I wanted to continue school, become a professor, be able to teach, do research, that kind of thing. And I started to get a little inkling in the back of my head that that might not have been the best thing for me. But it was really over the summer, like one day in July, I woke up and was like, this is unbelievably clear that this is not the path that I should go down. And it was like some voice in my head going, no, that's not it. That's not for you. You need to do something else. And so, like, for the rest of the summer and into the fall, I've been kind of paralyzed by the decision of what's next, and have led me to Icon. And it's been like I've been walking through a hallway, and there's like all these doors that I can open, because I like to say PR is like analysis by paralysis. There's so many things that you can do with it. I know them in the right industry. I just don't know who or what I want to do it for. So I like walking through this hallway, and there's so many doors that I can open, and it's like, do I peek inside? Do I make sure that's the right door? I just really want to make the best strategic decision. So I've been trying to like absorb all this information, work with as many people as I can to be able to make an informed decision. But I'm also trying to like understand that this decision is not like my end all be all. I can hop around, I can change. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm struggling with right now, and what led me to the theme of the conference.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting that you said that too, because, yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the concept of college sometimes is even a little daunting in the sense that, you have, well, for traditional people anyway, like 4 years to decide what is it that you want to do for the rest of your life. But I think it's important for us to understand too that's like, it's okay to pivot from the path a little. It's okay to explore a little bit more of what you want to do, and that, like, as strange as it is, it's just like, if anything, I think that the time is better spent, like, figuring out what is it that you don't care for as much, and what is it that you have just a genuine passion for, maybe beyond just the academics. And I like at least that throughout your time in college that you have, and now graduate school as well, have, really been working to, take as many experiences as possible, but, hopefully also being courteous to your own personal life too, and not being too, and hopefully not burning yourself out as well.
Yeah, definitely. Burnout is definitely a thing that I experienced over the summer. Um, it was an awesome summer though, because I like just absolutely relaxed. It was the first summer I never had any classes and or anything going on truly besides working part time. And so it was like definitely a summer to reflect on like, why did I burn out? Why did I get to this point? Why did I make these decisions? What decisions should I make next? Yeah, so it was like definitely a roller coaster of a summer trying to figure it all out.
And what would you say, you know, overall for you? I guess I'll actually start with this. So, for you having a summer where you finally didn't have any classes and didn't have, you know, anything else that was too pressing, like, how was it for you trying to figure out what to do with your time? Like, were you able to instantly relax, or did you have sort of a, what do you mean I don't have anything to do sort of time?
Yeah, definitely that the latter. What do you mean I don't have anything to do? Like when I finished school in May, I went to Jamaica for a trip, which was really awesome. And then I got back and was like, so what now? I mean, fortunately, I was working on Icon, so like that was something that I was doing, and then I was working part time, so it wasn't like absolutely nothing, but in a lot of ways, there was just a lot of sitting around, reflecting, spending time with family. That was wonderful. I like for the first time since my brother's passing, like I was able to have like a long weekend with all my cousins and spend time with family and really like talk and just have a good time and be normal and just it was amazing. It was really truly like an awesome awesome time. And yeah, just reflect and think about the path forward, but definitely something I struggled with because I'm someone of needing to always do something and not just sit around. And I'm always, like I said, forward motion. So not having a clear path forward really struggled with that.
I bet, but I'm so glad that you're at least able to have time with your family and being able to at least enjoy a little bit of relaxation time, because even for myself as someone who like loves always like being involved in anything and everything, it's sometimes where, like, even for me who hates downtime, it's nice to have that downtime that you're not expecting, because it's like it sort of forces you to take a step back and be like, okay, like, everything will be okay. Just need to just do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got really attached. I mean, like I struggled with it, but then I got really attached doing nothing. And so by the time school rolled around, I was like, man, I was really looking forward to this, but like I could have a couple more weeks of this.
Yeah, I feel like the way I would personally like love a semester is that, like, in the time that you are like the most bored, like you just get like a tease of it, but without the homework part of it. I mean, just like, okay, here's the community, here's the college stuff, but no, it's just a tease, and then we're just going to tease it for a couple weeks, without the stress.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if someone's listening, they should really implement that.
Yeah. Yes, they should. I support that.
But yeah, but overall, like I said, I've just been, really enjoying, our discussion thus far, and I feel like, you know. even now, like, I feel like there's so many different ways that, this could take, but yeah, I feel like there's always more discussion than there is time in the world. You know, but I would say for you, is there anything else that you would really like to highlight while we're speaking, here today, before we begin wrapping up the discussion for today?
Hmm. I don't know. I think we've covered quite a bit. Honestly, I can't even remember what we've talked about. It's been just wonderful talking. Like I love this kind of format. Just organic, authentic discussion. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that we missed.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that, we mostly covered everything. And I guess a comment I was going to make earlier, but couldn't remember what it was, when you were speaking about how, yeah, your flight experiences for some of these conferences don't really work out. Did that happen on more than one occasion?
Yeah, so I went to Scottsdale in April and I got delayed due to like mechanical issues, and that's why I had to miss running for national. And then in August when I went to DC, I also flew the same airline, and I like got to the airport and they canceled my flight completely and were like, come back tomorrow. And so I was like, okay, we're done. I hate that you fly so many different places. But yeah, I'm probably going to be done for that airline and might switch to my tried and true for now.
Well, that makes, yeah, perfect sense. And I will say too that, yeah, as someone that was following when the national committee was announced, several months ago, yeah, I did actually notice that, yours was announced like a few days later. So now I'm like, now that I know the story, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was such a crazy like thing because you can run from the floor if nobody like is running, because I wasn't there, so like anyone could have ran, but no one did. And so Janine, who runs PRSSA, was like, well, you can still submit. Like, we have to still go through a process, obviously. And so, like, I did a Zoom meeting and I went through a Q&A. And then, like, 2 weeks later, they were like, you got it. And I was like, woo. Um, and it's been incredible ever since. Like, it's so cool being on national committee and working with San, the national president. He's amazing. And working with Janine, she's amazing. And all the VPs are just absolutely incredible. I love our community, and I love that it's international. I love that I live in a time where we're able to be on Zoom, where I'm able to talk to you. I'm able to talk to one of our VPs, Milagros and Teo, who live in Argentina. Like, that's so cool. Like, that we're able to connect like all the way there and be able to share ideas and collaborate and make the society a better society. It's just really neat, and I'm lucky and honestly honored to be a part of national committee.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you're able to, like I said, to have this opportunity and to, make a difference within your position. Also, continue to help spread kindness.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like definitely a through line through all of this is the spreading kindness, and my experience with my brother and the foundation has like helped me in so many different ways through all of my careers. And I know that like being able to help people through this chapter development, be able to listen to them and be able to help them and provide advice is truly like the perfect role. Like the best role for me, I feel like, because I love talking to people, I love helping them and making sure that their problems are eased, because I've been in their position. I've been the student who is doing it and not feeling like they're being supported. So helping them in any way I can is truly an honor, and I absolutely adore it. So if you are a PRSSA chapter, please schedule a meeting with me.
Yes, please do. And speaking of which, what is the best place for people to contact you who are watching and listening or even want to follow what you're doing?
Yeah, so my personal website is www.oakleyweddle.com. So that's OAKLEYWEDDLE.com. My email address is oakleyrweddle@gmail.com. And if you're a PRSSA student, you're welcome to email me at vpchapterdev, DEV, at prsa.org.
So amazing and great contacts.
Yeah, definitely. And connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm like very active, so.
yeah, I definitely hope that for those of you tuning in, that you definitely connect with Oakley, and yeah, I hope that you just yeah go ahead and do that. But I will say for those who are still tuning in, I did want to allow for you to go ahead and leave us out with whether it be a inspirational thought, a life lesson, or whatever the case may be. The floor is all yours, Oakley.
That's so hard. I think I might have to quote one of our keynote speakers this past weekend. It was Amanda Brooks. She said to the theme of what's next. She said, "There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's up to you to decide if it's the sun or train." And I absolutely love that, and something I really retained. And so I'll leave that with you. And I hope also you took from this discussion that every small action leads to something bigger. Say yes to opportunities, but be wise enough to say no to the ones that won't work for you and make you feel uncomfortable. And that every small step, small action leads to either kindness or a bigger opportunity for you. And be proud of yourself. I'll also say that.
Thank you so much, Oakley. Like I said, for coming on the show and for speaking with us. I absolutely have really enjoyed this conversation, and it means a lot to me that you're able to come on.
It means a lot to me that you asked me, truly. I had a wonderful time talking to you. I just absolutely love this. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors and what's next for you.
Thank you so much, and definitely don't be a stranger.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. I love that.
But until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's continue on our mission to bring people together. I'll see y'all later. Take care.